And we're back in Inside the Ropes, and I know that a lot of you have been anticipating this interview. He is one half of arguably the hottest tag team in the world in the last few years. Very entertaining. One half of Bad Influence, and one of the most popular stars in wrestling today is Frankie Kazarian. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
In terms of when you've been in Ring of Honor so far, who is there that sort of impressed you straight away? Because I assume you kept up with Ring of Honor anyway, but when you got there and you started working with guys, who's really sort of impressed you so far?
I tried to keep up as much as I could, before I got here. But there's a lot of really talented guys. I mean, guys obviously that I already knew about, like the Jay Lethals of the world, guys like that. But guys that I've had the opportunity to be in the ring with now and seeing guys like Adam Cole, who's extremely talented. Guys like the Briscoes who have been on the scene for a long time, but I'm still a big fan of those guys. Obviously the Young Bucks, especially when you're talking about tag team wrestling. Just the whole roster, everyone's really dedicated to the product and works really hard. And I'm more impressed by the work ethic of the entire locker room than I am just one individual.
Absolutely. And also what's quite interesting is you're actually going to be coming back to the UK later on this year and doing some dates, but specifically you're coming to Scotland on the 26th of October for PBW in Edinburgh. That must be quite cool to come back to the UK where, I'm assuming that when you were with TNA that the UK was one of your sort of hottest fan bases when you came over.
Yeah, it definitely was. And it was always one of the big, the big event of the year. Everyone looked forward to going over there because, the live audience was really, really into the product and knew all the characters. And there was a respect for the wrestling. And, we were over there earlier this year for a comic book convention and had a lot of good response to that and a lot of people wanting us there to wrestle. And, yeah, we're happy to be going over there again. It's Same thing as like a Ring of Honor crowd, basically. It's, just a lot of really knowledgeable fans that really are passionate about their wrestling and vocal about what they want and what they don't want. And we're thrilled to be going over there again. And
you were mentioning earlier on that you'd been in the UK for a comic convention, but you're going to be at Comic-Con in the US this weekend. Tell us a little bit about that and what that's for and how that came about.
Yeah, we try to do Comic-Con every year. Obviously, the big comic book fans, and the Bad Influence comic book came out earlier this year and it's done really well. So we tried to hit up as many conventions as we can. Comic-Con this year, I'm going to be there. I'm looking to be there Saturday and Sunday. Going to be at the comic at the table with Art Baltazar and Franco. Going to spend some time at the Headlocked comic table, Mike Kingston's Headlocked comic table for a while. And also a new app that we're part of called Sweet Secret that has a booth, and I'm going to be at that booth for a while. So I'm going to try to get around a whole lot the time that I'm there. But it's always good. It's always good. We have a lot of friends in the industry, and that's one of the only times we get a chance to see them. And just being part of the whole experience is cool. It's always a real hectic weekend because you haven't experienced a real comic book convention until you've been to the San Diego Comic-Con because it's insane, but insane in a good way.
One of the things that I always thought was interesting when you were in TNA was the Fortune faction that you guys had, and there was so many comparisons to the Horsemen with Ric Flair. How did you kind of approach that when you were involved in that? Did you guys kind of see it as a modern day type of Four Horsemen deal, or is that just something that people kind of, because obviously there were similarities, but was it more a kind of thought up in fans' heads?
Well, that's exactly it. You put four guys with Ric Flair, you can't not say that it's not some type of Horseman spin-off or modern day Horseman type deal. That's exactly what it was. It was four guys that were, associating themselves with Ric Flair to get that rub, to get that Horseman rub. I thought that, it served its purpose. I thought that we could have done a little more with it, that there's money left on the table, but, they had an end game in sight. It was, I guess, fun while it lasted. We had some good times, some memorable matches, and just a good experience. One of those things, you look back on your career that, you can say, wow, it was cool to be associated with Ric Flair at the time. And, through the things we did. Because I think any wrestler is going to benefit from being in that position.
And when you were around Ric Flair, were you able to sort of get advice from him? Was he quite forthcoming with trying to help you guys and trying to kind of, impart some wisdom on you guys?
Yeah, he was great. He was always willing to critique, listen, give advice, just, we just point out little nuances that, only somebody like Ric Flair would be aware of, and he was also always there to buy you a beverage in the bar and tell you some stories about the old days, which is cool, from a fan's perspective. It's like almost like wrestling fan camp at that time, so it was cool.
And something that I don't think a lot of fans would realise who maybe watch wrestling today that maybe weren't watching 10 years ago was that you very briefly kind of went to WWE. And obviously it didn't maybe work out the way that you'd wanted it to, but from your time there, like, what was your experience like in WWE? Was it enjoyable for you the time that you were there? And what was kind of the differences between when you were in TNA the first time to go into WWE? Was it like a completely different animal for you?
Well, I mean, WWE's TNA's a wrestling company and WWE's a business. That's the biggest difference I could put on it. WWE is a giant monster, publicly traded business and a very, very well-oiled machine that's been around for a long time and will be around for a long time. And it's just it's wrestling, but it's different. It's, they're you can't, the differences are obvious in that, look what WWE has done over the last 50 plus years. They've reinvented pro wrestling as we know it. Pro wrestling is WWE. And when you're there, you're just basically a bolt in the machine, and it can be hard to keep up with, and it can be challenging to keep up with, and it can be also very rewarding. And it's its own beast.
It seemed kind of around the time that you were there that they had so many guys on the roster because there was the two brands and stuff that it almost seemed like it might be quite difficult to break out of the pack because there was so many people on the various TV shows that they had, and I guess that must have been a difficult thing to try and overcome.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. Is if you catch on and if you are in favor with the right people, then good on you. But a lot of times guys who are very, very talented have, for whatever reason, not necessarily caught on, and that's just the nature of the wrestling business.
You ended up becoming one of the hottest tag teams in the world. Everybody was talking about you, and you guys did a lot of stuff that, and I'm sure it was deliberate. You did a lot of stuff that broke you away from really being compared to other teams. You were doing a lot of interesting stuff. How did you end up coming together? Was it you guys that kind of came up with it, or were you just sort of put together by the company?
Yeah, no, it was definitely us. I at the time was doing nothing. I was literally a guy in fortune. That was my role. Chris had just kind of finished a feud with AJ, and didn't really see a whole lot on the horizon for him. And we both, we knew we should be a good tag team, so we told them we have ideas. If you have nothing to do with either of us, please let us do this. And begrudgingly at first, we, kind of got their somewhat blessing to do it, and got an opportunity and just made the absolute most out of it.
And when you guys sort of started sort of teaming together and it really started catching on, was it quite, in terms of you guys putting forward ideas and stuff, was it quite difficult for you to get those ideas pushed through, or was it a case of if you could just come up with the ideas, they were quite happy to let you guys just run with it?
Well, honestly, we never would tell them. Like the Throwback Thursday things, for instance, was things that we would do, and like the first one with the Zubaz, and and then the stuff in England with dressing up like the Scots, and that was stuff that we would do. Even the Legion of Boom thing, it was stuff we would have ideas of and commit to doing it, but not tell anybody, and kind of stay hidden until our segment or until our match or whatever it was, and basically go out and do it. And after the first Throwback Thursday, we didn't know if we were going to be in trouble or what, but it got a great response. So it worked, and we just kind of started doing that. And, we always would take the approach that it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. And but everything we did got the desired response. Everything we did got the segment, and not just ourselves. It got the segment over, and it was entertaining. And and we were always told, you guys are great. You guys are untouchable. You're bulletproof. Keep doing what you're doing. So yeah, that was all just basically us. Anything you saw on TV that was good, at least, was definitely came from our brains.
And it's quite interesting because obviously when you guys came out and did the sort of the Braveheart stuff and the Legion of Doom stuff and the British Bulldogs, most of the time in pro wrestling when a guy comes out and does a parody thing like that, I guess the current person that does that right now is Damien Sandow in WWE, but you guys weren't like a joke act. You guys were like a legitimate tag team who could also bring in that sort of comedy stuff that would make people laugh, but at the same time you were still taken seriously. And it seems like, that's quite a difficult line to get, and you guys managed to do it really well.
Yeah, it was never in vain. It all had meaning. Every Throwback Thursday had meaning specific to either the town we were in or the guys we were wrestling, or they all had meaning. And yeah, we knew that first and foremost, people knew us as good wrestlers, and that was never going to change. But this was also just a different side of our personalities and another way to connect with the audience. So it was always done for the betterment of the segment and the company.
And back in 2012, because the show that we do now is pre-recorded, but we used to do it live. And back in 2012, when we did it live, one of the things that people would continuously bring up on Facebook and Twitter during our live shows was the Claire Lynch storyline in 2012.
Yep.
Everybody was talking about it. It was a really interesting story. How did that? Was that something that they came up with to you, or were you guys involved in putting that together?
Myself, Chris Daniels, and AJ had a lot of input in that, and had a lot of really cool ideas of where we could go with that. And we spent a lot of time thinking of stuff and had a clear end game. But our ideas sometimes fell on deaf ears, unfortunately, and the angle went, in the direction it went. And but we had a lot of good time, especially good time collaborating with like Eric Bischoff, and at the time, who was really, really helpful to us. And yeah, we had a lot of ideas, but unfortunately, they took a different direction with that. But I think still, even during that time, as much criticism as it got, there was a lot of really good TV and a lot of good stuff with AJ and Chris and myself. And
were you guys sort of? And obviously, you've covered it so many times. I think you'd probably be tired of having to go over it again and again and again about the fact that you've left TNA, but in terms of before you sort of were leaving, did you guys were you vocal about the fact that why are we not doing anything? Let us do more. Were you still pitching ideas right up towards the end of when you were both on TV?
Well, we just wanted to come up for air. We thought that we were, our act had been and always was entertaining. We thought nothing had changed on our end. Just how we were being used was being changed. So we were constantly pitching ideas, none of which really came through. But we understand that you have to rotate guys. But we just wanted to come up for air because the fans are still responding to us. We were still having great matches, and we just wanted, basically our time in the sun again. But apparently it just wasn't in the cards. So it be that way sometimes, I guess.
One thing that wrestling fans definitely will be looking forward to is, as part of you being in ROH, I believe on the 9th of August in Philadelphia, there's going to be a tag team match I think a lot of people are really excited about seeing, which is you and Christopher Daniels against the Young Bucks. That must be quite exciting for you guys, because I think it is sort of like a dream match for ROH fans.
Yeah, and the Young Bucks are incredible talents, and guys we've wrestled before, and guys that like us have I think really helped revitalize tag team wrestling. And when you talk about the two of the best tag teams in the world right now, it's definitely us and them. And we're really thrilled to be able to do that on the Ring of Honor stage in front of the passionate Ring of Honor fans. It'll be a great match. It'll be an athletic match, and I promise you it won't be the last time that you see it happen. You know, it's something we're very much looking forward to, just like the fans. It's going to be good.
And I guess just before we let you go, plug
Yep.
away. Where can people get in touch with you? Give them your Twitter, just the various ways that people can check out what you're doing.
Twitter, it's at Frankie Kazarian, really simple. Basically, all my info is there. I also have Frankie Kazarian website that you can find on there. I'm also part of an app called Tweet Secret, which if you follow me on Twitter, you can see, and it's exclusive videos that you can see of me on the road backstage on the sets of movies, just playing music, a bunch of stuff, which is really cool. And just keep your eyes on Ring of Honor, because we are on all of the Ring of Honor shows coming up, and live events, and I'm trying to put my schedule up on my site right now too, so you can see where I'm going to be in the future. But basically, if you follow me on Twitter, I will give you more information than you need. So just do that.
So yeah, if you all the Busta Rhymes hate or information about bookings that you need, you can go to Frankie Kazarian on Twitter. Frankie, thanks for coming on the show. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Yep. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Great. Thanks for coming on, and take care.
Yep. You too.